My name's Jack. I run a little auto repair shop out on the edge of town. Jack's Garage. Nothing fancy. Just me, my tools, and the smell of oil and gasoline that's basically become my cologne. It's usually pretty quiet, just the clanging of wrenches, the hiss of the air compressor, and maybe the radio playing some old rock tunes. I like it that way. Keep my head down, fix what's broken, earn enough to keep the lights on, and maybe grab a decent burger on Friday nights. It was a Tuesday, I think. Hot one. The kind where the asphalt outside shimmers and you sweat just standing still. Business was slow, which happens sometimes. I was under the hood of Mrs. Gable's old sedan, trying to figure out why it was running rough, when this car pulled up. Not for service, it just parked near the big bay door. A woman got out, looking worried. Then she went around to the passenger side and helped a young boy out. He was in a wheelchair now. I see folks from all walks of life here, but something about the way the woman, Sarah, I later learned her name was looking at that wheelchair. It wasn't just a chair, it was like a part of her boy, Leo, and it was definitely broken. One of the main wheels was bent way out of shape, wobbling badly. It looked dangerous. Unstable. Sarah hesitated for a moment, looking from the chair to my greasy garage, like she wasn't sure if she was in the right place. I wiped my hands on a rag and walked over. Need some help? I asked. My voice always comes out a bit rougher than I mean it to. Years of shouting over engine noise. I guess she jumped a little, then gave me a small, tired smile. I don't know, she said, her voice soft. It's his wheelchair. The wheel. It just gave out this morning. He needs it for school. For everything. I called the medical supply place, and they said it could take weeks to get a replacement part, and the cost. Well, it's more than I've got right now. She looked down at her hands, then back at me, her eyes pleading. Someone down the street mentioned you were good with fixing things. Metal things. I know it's not a car, but I just thought, maybe. I looked at the boy, Leo. He couldn't have been more than 10 or 11. Big brown eyes, looking around the garage with a kind of quiet curiosity. He wasn't complaining or anything, just sitting there patiently, while his mom tried to sort things out. He gave me a little wave when he saw me looking. I knelt down to get a better look at the wheel. Yeah, the axle casing was bent pretty bad. Probably hit a nasty bump or something. It wasn't something you could just bolt back on. It needed some careful work, maybe some heat, some straightening, possibly a bit of welding to reinforce it. Stuff I do on car frames all the time. Just smaller. It's his legs, you know, Sarah whispered, like she didn't want Leo to hear, though he obviously knew. Without this chair, he's stuck. We can't. Her voice cracked a little. I looked at the chair, then at Leo's hopeful face, then at Sarah's worried one. I'm not exactly rolling in dough myself. Time is money in this business. But, hell, it was a kid's wheelchair. His legs, like she said, weeks. No way. All right, I said, standing up. Bring it over here. Let's see what we can do. Sarah's eyes widened. Really? How much? Don't worry about that right now, I said, cutting her off gently. Let's just get him rolling again. It took a bit of maneuvering, but we got the chair onto my workbench. Leo stayed in the car, where it was a bit cooler, reading a comic book Sarah gave him. Sarah stood nearby, watching me like a hawk, twisting a strap on her purse. I got to work. Had to carefully remove the wheel, heat the bent metal just right with a torch. Gently persuade it back into shape using the vise and a few specialized tools I usually use for suspension parts. It took concentration. Had to make sure it was strong, perfectly aligned. Then I added a small reinforcing weld, ground it down smooth so nothing would catch, cleaned up the bearings, greased everything nicely, and put the wheel back on, spun it. Perfect. Solid as a rock. Took me maybe an hour and a half total. While I worked, Sarah told me a little about Leo, how smart he was, how much he loved drawing superheroes, how tough things had been since her husband passed away a couple of years back. She wasn't asking for pity, just talking, filling the silence. When I was done, I wheeled the chair over to the car. Okay, Leo, I called out. Let's see if this works. Sarah helped him transfer back into the chair. He put his hands on the wheels, gave it a push, and rolled smoothly across the concrete floor of the bay. He did a little circle, then looked up at me, his face breaking into a huge grin. Wow, it's better than before, he exclaimed. That grin, man, that hit me right in the chest. Better than any paycheck. Sarah rushed over, tears brimming in her eyes this time. Thank you, she choked out. I don't know how. How much do I owe you? I can pay you something next week, I promise, when I get paid. I just shook my head, wiped my greasy hands on my rag again. Don't worry about it, I said. Seriously, just glad I could help the fella out. You two, take care now. She tried to argue, tried to press a crumpled $20 bill into my hand, but I wouldn't take it. It felt wrong. Some things you just do because it's the right thing to do. You know, seeing Leo roll out of my garage, waving happily, his mum pushing him with a look of pure relief on her face. That was payment enough. More than enough. I watched them drive away, then went back to Mrs. Gable's engine, feeling good lighter. Somehow. Just a simple fix. A little bit of my time. No big deal. I figured that was the end of it. Just another day at the garage. A slightly unusual repair job. I honestly didn't think much more about it, besides hoping Leo's chair held up fine. Then, things started getting weird. In a good way. A few days later, a guy I didn't know came in for an oil change. Said his neighbor, Sarah, told him I was an honest mechanic. Okay, that was nice. Word of mouth is always good. Then, the next day, a woman dropped off a box of donuts when she picked up her car. Heard what you did for that little boy, she said with a warm smile. This town needs more people like you, Jack, I mumbled. Thanks. Feeling a bit awkward. Donuts were nice, but the attention felt strange. It didn't stop there. People started coming in, sometimes just to say hello. Someone brought me a coffee. Another person, a farmer from out of town, needed a tricky weld on his tractor hitch. Said he drove past 2 other shops to come to me because he'd heard I was a decent fella. Then, one Saturday morning, I came in to find a small crowd gathered outside the garage. Sarah and Leo were there, Leo holding a big, colorful drawing. My first thought was, oh no, did the chair break again? But Sarah was beaming. Jack, she said, her voice loud and clear for everyone to hear. We wanted to thank you properly. Leo shyly held up the drawing. It was a picture of me, standing next to his wheelchair, both of us with big smiles. I looked like a kind of lumpy superhero in greasy overalls. He'd even drawn sparks coming off a wrench. Across the top, in big kid letters, it said, "Thank you, Jack, our hero." My throat got tight. I'm not the crying type, but I had to swallow hard. But that wasn't all. A man I recognized as Mr. Henderson, who owns the local hardware store, stepped forward. "Jack," he said, "Sarah told us what you did. And it got a few of us thinking. You're always here, helping people out, keeping our cars running, never charging folks an arm and a leg. And well, we notice your sign is looking a bit faded, and the paint on the building could use some love." He gestured around, and suddenly I saw what they were holding. Cans of paint, brushes, rollers. Someone else had brought new lettering for my sign. Another guy, an electrician I knew, was pointing up at my flickering fluorescent lights inside. We figured, Mr. Henderson continued, that one good turn deserves another. So, we're here to give Jack's garage a bit of a tune-up. Was speechless. Utterly speechless. People started bustling around. Someone put a brush in my hand. Sarah's friend started organizing folks to scrape the old paint. The electrician got his ladder out. Leo, parked safely out of the way, was directing operations with his superhero drawing. All day long, people from town came and went. They painted, they cleaned, they fixed little things around the shop I hadn't had the time or money to deal with. Someone brought pizza for lunch. Someone else fixed the leaky faucet in my tiny backroom sink. It was overwhelming. I worked alongside them, painting and laughing, feeling a warmth spread through me that had nothing to do with the sun. It wasn't just about the paint or the sign. It was the feeling of belonging. Like all these years, I'd just been fixing cars, but maybe I'd been fixing other things too, without even realizing it. Building connections, one oil change, one tire rotation at a time. By the end of the day, the garage looked amazing. Fresh paint, bright new sign, even the inside lights worked properly without buzzing. It looked cared for. Sarah and Leo stayed till the very end. As everyone was packing up, Sarah came over to me, her eyes shining. "See, Jack," she said softly, "good deeds come back around." Leo rolled up beside her. "You fixed my chair, so everyone fixed your shop," he said, like it was the most logical thing in the world. I knelt down beside him. "Thanks, Leo," I said, my voice thick again. "That drawing is the best payment I ever got." I looked around at my refreshed garage, at the friendly faces packing up their tools and waving goodbye. All of this, I never expected anything like it. And I hadn't. I just fixed a wheel because it needed fixing. Because a kid needed his wheels back. Because his mom looked like she was carrying the weight of the world. A simple act. Really. Didn't cost me much more than a bit of time and scrap metal. But what came back? It wasn't about the money, or the paint, or the donuts, though those were good. It was seeing the community, my community, come together. It was knowing that maybe, just maybe, doing a small kindness can ripple outwards in ways you can't even imagine. Now, Leo's drawing is taped up right next to my toolbox. Every time I see it, I remember that hot Tuesday, the wobbly wheel, and the kid's grin. And I remember the Saturday the town came together to fix my garage. It reminds me that even a quiet guy like me, working in a greasy shop on the edge of town, can be part of something bigger. And that sometimes, the best things in life are the ones you never, ever expect. You just gotta do the right thing first. The rest, well, sometimes it takes care of itself in the most amazing ways. 60.3s